Or are we ready? Are we ready? All right.
자, 저 밖에 문 닫아주세요.
Well, good morning. Good afternoon. My name is Daryl D. Marble. Been a flat earther for about 3 years now. Got my start a while ago. About 10 years ago, I was looking into alternate concepts concerning the way that the world works. They're called conspiracy theories. This was a term that was made popular by the FBI in order to dispel the idea of anyone thinking outside the box concerning the JFK assassination.
예, JFK 그 살인부터 해서 과거부터 이제 음모론 쪽으로 많이 10년 정도 이렇게 파헤쳐보고 그런 게 있었답니다.
So while looking into these things, I looked through a lot of the general conspiracy theories, as they call them, 9/11, Sandy Hook, things that were going on in the U.S. With the chemtrails, the vaccination agenda, and the like. I got burned out as far as looking into these things, so I had to take a break.
뭐 지금 말한 대로 번아웃, 너무나도 이제 깊게 파고들다 보니까 많이 지쳐서 좀 이렇게 쉬고 싶은 마음도 있는데 좀 전에 제가 다뤘던 내용을 상당히 이분도 이렇게 진실을 추구하기 위해서 많이 얘기하고 있는.
So while I was taking that break, I ended up watching a documentary, not a documentary, a series on Netflix named Under the Dome. It was about a small town who ended up covered under this invisible dome. It was created by an alien race, some sci-fi concepts in that film. But after that series was over, after we watched those episodes, we got onto YouTube again and typed in Under the Dome.
그 미국에서는 이제 언더더돔이라는 그 돔 아래에 있는 세상을 그린 드라마가 있었고 거기서 좀 이제 플랫어스에 관한 자료를 좀 찾아볼 수도 있는데 이 친구는 이제 그거를 보고 좀 느낀 점이 있다고 합니다.
So the thing that popped up in the search in the very beginning was a flat Earth video. The thumbnail showed the Earth covered in a dome out in space, showed water leaking over the edge, and it was a 2-hour presentation. It was my first introduction to flat Earth. And I ended up watching that video for the whole weekend. And after the first few minutes, I heard him mention flat Earth, and that was the first time I heard it mentioned in my adult life. So I had to pause it for a second, look at my girlfriend, and ask her, "Did he just say flat Earth?"
처음에 이제 사람들 반응이 그 평평지구를 이제 주장하면 상당히 좀 이제 싫어하고 이런 게 있었겠죠. 네, 그거를 이제 여자친구도 너 정말 평평지구 믿어? 이렇게.
So about the end of the weekend, we were pretty much convinced. So since then, I've been pretty vocal as far as spreading the truth about the flat Earth. I've written messages on my car, on the side of my van. There's a message about flat Earth. I spread this pretty much everywhere I go. I'm usually wearing a t-shirt, much like the one that you see here. Or if not, I'm wearing my flat Earth medallion just to kind of spark the conversation. This is something that I take very seriously because everything else that's going on in the world takes place on this stage, which is the flat Earth.
지금까지 뭐 차에도 평평한 지구 얼스이즈 플랫 해갖고 새기고 지금 뭐 티셔츠도 입고 다니고 점점점 더 많은 사람들이 진실의 세계를 보기를 바라는 마음에서 이렇게 목소리를 높이고 있다고 합니다.
So while I was talking about flat Earth, I did so with friends and co-workers, a little bit with family, but mostly with people at work. While I was talking with some guys at work about flat Earth, I would go out and visit them, and we would have a session every other day, and I would go watch a video, and then I would go back to and talk to them and tell them what I had learned, and they would ask questions. I became something like their flat Earth guru to a small group.
예, 결국에 이제 이렇게 계속 얘기하다 보니까 그 플랫어스를 이제 알아가는 사람들이 모임을 갖게 됐고요.
So while having a discussion with these gentlemen, I had an idea. We were having a discussion about things that would and wouldn't work on a globe. And one of those things that I found wouldn't work was a spirit level. And the idea that I had was to show that the Earth isn't curving. So if you have a level, the bowl's centered, and if you tilt it to either side, very simple, it will show that you're on a level surface.
비행기에 타게 되면은 곡률이 있다 그러면 레벨기에 있는 수평기가 움직일 텐데 그런 것이 전혀 없다라는 것을 알았기 때문에 이걸로 해갖고 유튜브에다가도 올렸습니다.
So I thought about driving with the level in my van from Tacoma to Portland. That's about 150 miles or so. But I would have had to have a guy hold the level for me. I wouldn't have been able to prop it anywhere, and the video would have taken too long. But I remember that I had a flight coming up because my daughter had a birthday coming real soon. So I decided to go see her, and I took my level and had an idea for an experiment.
심지어는 아까 전에 비행기에 대해서는 이런 공유를 말씀드렸는데 배를 타고 한 150마일 정도 갔는데도 어떠한 그런 미동이 없었다라는 말을 하고 있습니다. 오랜 시간 촬영은 하진 않았대요.
So the idea was to take a spirit level onto a plane, and I've been talking about flat Earth on social media quite often, and even got trolled by this guy Mick West, and he told me basically that no oceans are flat, they only look flat because they are so big, but you can measure the curve of the horizon with a level.
보통 이제 둥근 지구를 주장하시는 분은 지구가 너무나도 거대하기 때문에 너는 커브를 볼 수 없다라고 했는데 지구 반대편까지 왔는데 커브가 없다라는 것은 평평하게 증명된다.
So I got the idea from a globe troll, and I said, well, that's perfect because that's exactly what I'm going to do on my flight from North Carolina to Seattle. And we had been going back and forth on Twitter. We kind of had a feud on social media going back and forth, Mick and I. And he's even spoken about me in a couple of interviews with Joe Rogan, a popular former conspiracy theorist, on one of his podcasts.
조 로건이 UFC,
yes.
조 로건이라고 UFC에서 지금 이렇게 아나운서, what is his job?
He's one of the announcers.
예, 아나운서인데 이 사람이 이제 플랫어스를 상당히 좀 비아냥대면서 이제 많이 공격을 하는 게 있어서 그 부분을 이제 설명하고 있습니다.
So what I did with this experiment, I actually did take the spirit level onto a plane, and I recorded a video. That video was made public by IFL Science because this guy, he posted on his Twitter, he has a lot of followers, and he posted my video, and it just kind of spiraled out of control from there. IFL Science got a hold of it, and articles were written all across the world as a result of it.
많은 사람들이 이제 공격을 합니다. 이렇게 나름대로 실험을 하게 되면 그 평평지구를 증명하기 위해서 이제 많은 자료를 내놓으면 이제 여러 가지 공격을 당하게 되는데, 근데 이거에 대한 틀린 것을 말하고 공격을 당하는 게 아니라 그 사람들도 답변을 못하면서 때로는 또 엉뚱한 얘기를 하면서 아까 전에 말씀드렸듯이 중력이 잡아 끌어서 저 레벨기가 안 움직인다 이런 얘기를 한다든가 기타 등등 그런 게 있었다.
Alright, so since then, I uploaded the video. That video's gone viral, has over 1 million views all around the world. And as a result of that first article done by IFL Science, there have been articles written in the Daily Mail in the UK, on Indy 100, World Truth TV, Gazelle, E-Bombs World, The Hook, Disclosed TV, Boarding Area, That's Life, Unilad, some publication in Israel, and even been interviewed on ABC Nightline as a result of that experiment. Just out of an idea, talking with some guys at work and having a passion to want to spread the truth about our world.
예, 많은 뉴스 단체에서 이제 흥미를 갖고 인터뷰를 하고 그런 내용들이 쭉 나오고요. 이것은 this is last year you in conference in United States, right?
Yes.
Yeah. 이것은 이제 컨퍼런스 작년에.
That's November.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into the details of the experiment. So The airplane that I was on, it was an A321 Airbus, and the cruising speed of that airplane is 515 miles per hour. We still do miles per hour over there, and the recorded time was 23 minutes and 45 seconds. Now, according to spherical trigonometry, they tell us that the calculation for determining the Earth's curvature and a ball Earth at 25,000 miles in circumference, going that speed, that distance would result in us covering 203 miles. Okay, so that means that we would have had to compensate for over 5 miles of curvature. There should have been 5 miles of downward tilt as a result of taking that flight at that speed, according to the math that we were given by the trusted scientific community. Because 5 miles may be a bit much for, or it has proven to me to be a bit much for some people, some detractors who have attacked me as a result of this experiment, I just broke it down to how it would only show for 48 miles of tilt per minute. So the plane should be dipping the nose down according to the math that we've been given by the community. So this is what happened here. Very quick time lapse. You can see the bubble stays between the two lines, showing that we're already in the air. We've reached a cruising altitude of 35,000 feet. The bubble stays centered, except for me kind of bumping the tray.
저 기포방울이 살짝 움직이는 건 이제 기류 현상 때문에 살짝 움직이는 거지, 저기 어떤 굴곡이 있어서 내려가는데 반응하는 게 아니다, 이 말을 하고 있습니다. 그 가끔 이제 강한 기류를 맞아서 제트 엔진 뭐 이런 게 있죠. 그래서 공기방울이 좀 움직이는 경우가 있습니다.
What I told the lady at the ABC interview, she asked me about how people in the scientific community would say that this is a bobo experiment, is what she said. But I replied to her that it's so simple it'll go right over your head, because the level is what's used to determine whether or not a surface is flush. So showing that the plane is not dipping the nose down to compensate for curvature, that's pretty much proof that the Earth is flat.
비행기 순항 속도가 한 700km, 800km가 되기 때문에 그 정도 속도라 그러면은 how many for the drop? 5 minutes every 5 minutes?
It should have had to compensate for at least 48 feet every minute.
그 1분마다 48 feet, 피트 정도 하강이 이루어져야 되는데 그런 게 전혀 없었다라고 말을 하고 있습니다.
And that's pretty much it. So that's how the experiment went. Very simple. Proves that the plane is not dipping the nose down to compensate for curvature. Now we'll talk about some of the rebuttals that I've gotten as a result. They tell me that I don't understand how level works. This isn't complicated, honestly. So
여러분들한테 묻는데 이게 정말 작동이 어려운 건가요?
very simple.
너무나도 단순하고 쉽다.
I mean, anybody knows that if you sit it on a flat surface, that the bubble stays in the center, that means that it's level. If the bubble tilts to either left or right, that means that it's not level.
일단은 수평만 유지하면 기포방울은 항상 가운데로 가게 돼 있고요. 다시 말해서 비행기를 타고 공률에 따라서 맞춰서 내려간다면 분명히 기포방울도 그 공률 때문에 움직임이 있어야 되는데 그런 게 전혀 발견되지 않았다. 아까 전에 잠깐 떨린 것은 그런 기류 현상, 그거를 얘기하고 있습니다.
Okay, that was just my explanation of how level works. That's fine. Another one, the pilot wouldn't have to dip the nose because he's flying along the curve of the Earth.
Hold on a second. 이거는 지금 구글 번역기를 제가 갖고 왔는데 조금 some little bit the grammar is not right, but it's okay. But people understand though.
All right. Google Translate. Sorry. So according to the globe model, there's some way or another that the Earth is curving, and then there's this invisible field that creates the sky. It's like some sort of invisible magical Velcro that keeps the air curving also around the globe, and at the same time it keeps everything in the air curving at the same time. It makes absolutely no sense. But showing that the plane was flying over a level surface, it shows that since the airplane is flying independent of the Earth's surface, if it's flying level, independent of the Earth's surface, and the Earth is still curving beneath the airplane, then at some point it's going to have to dip the nose down in order to get back to the runway at its final destination.
아까 제가 드렸던 책 보시면은 자이로스코프라고 나옵니다. 이 자이로스코프가 반응을 해야 되는데 반응 없으니까 이제 나사라든가 그 항공 그 회사 측에서 하는 말이 이것은 중력이 어떤 개입을 하고 있다. 뭐 기타 등등 여러 가지 그 변명을 하고 있는데 이것은 순전히 전자장비가 들어가는 게 아니라 기계입니다. 기계이기 때문에 어떤 개입이 있을 수가 없고요. 그리고 인공 지평선 비행기가 만약에 저 굴곡을 따라서 내려가면 제가 아까 전에 자동차를 타고 내려가면 어떻게 된다 그랬죠? 백미러로 선이 이렇게 떠 보이죠? 마찬가지로 인공 지평선이 올라가게 됐어요. 매 분마다 이렇게 내려간다면. 하지만 비행기 파일럿들은 다 압니다. 지구가 평평 왜냐하면 내려가지가 않기 때문에. 실제로 기장이 이런 말을 해요. 비행기를 타고 일단 수평을 유지하면 뭐 9시간, 10시간 그 코를 꺾지 않는다는 얘기를 합니다.
Alright. Why don't you just look out the window, is what they tell me.
사람들이 야 밖에 보면 알잖아. 둥그러 보이잖아. 이렇게 얘기한대요. 한번 웃어주세요.
This is me looking out the window.
한번 창문밖에 바에서 한번 봤는데 여러분들 알다시피 저 비행기 자체적으로 저 유리가 굴곡지게끔 나오는 경우도 있어요. 아세요? 가끔 이렇게 비행기 딱 보면 양 옆에가 이렇게 휘게 보이는 그 유리도 있고 또 대기의 현상이 있습니다. 그 컨벡스라는 데서 나오는데 그것은 제가 나중에 좀 방대한 자료인데 그것을 따로 정리해서 보여드리도록 하겠습니다.
Alright. But when you look out the window and tell people that you don't see curvature when you fly, and a lot of people don't actually, you'd be surprised at how many people have never taken a flight. That okay, Clark? Can I say that was your first flight on the way over here? That first time he flew, he was on the way to this conference.
처음으로 you very first time get on the plane? 처음으로 비행기를 타봤대요. How about flat?
Flat all the way.
Yeah, flat. 여러분 한 번씩.
Out the window, flat as far as
And he had a window seat, and he looked out the window and he saw that it was flat. That's because that's what it is. But when we say that we don't see curvature out of the window, they always say you're not high enough.
So before I explain about this, 저 배가 이렇게 딱 보면 수평선으로 조금만 가도 넘어가잖아요. 닻이 사라지네, 뭐 배 몸통이 사라지네 하고 사라지잖아요. 하늘에서 보면 그게 더 굴곡이 잘 보여야 되지 않을까요? 관찰이 안 됩니다.
To which I respond, typically, there's not enough wheat in Colorado to get high enough to see the curvature, because there is none.
예, 콜로라도 아까 전에 설명드렸던 거. 예.
So they tell us that this is where we live, and if we live on a globe, this is actually a cartoon, but if this were where we live, there would be noticeable curvature everywhere you look.
예, 360도가 구죠, 여러분. 360도. 그러면 자기가 위치한 데가 제일 높은 데가 아닐까요? 물론 이제 뭐 높낮이가 있겠죠. 뭐 에베레스트 뭐 높은 산도 있겠지만 자기가 본인이 쓴 장소가 어디든 간에 자기가 서 있는 장소가 제일 높은 곳이 될 수 있어요. 그렇기 때문에 높이 올라간다는 것은 커버처가 보여야 돼요. 그 곡률이. 그런데 곡률이 발견이 안 됩니다. 이거 어디 간 거죠? 누가 아시는 분 있어요? 가출했나? 저 재밌게 하려고 조금씩 웃으면서 할게요.
So let's go looking for curvature.
자, 굴곡이 어디냐?
We'll talk through this.
Before you drive the car, right? You said before.
Yeah. No, should we go back? What's up? You want me to stop?
Yeah, what's wrong?
No, I was gonna just take a ride. What happened?
아까 전에 그 드라이브 하는 거는 그럼 과연 비행기에서만 그런 게 발견이 안 되느냐? 하지만 차를 타고 가도 마찬가지로.
Okay. So on the ground, obviously you can travel for miles and miles, as Clark covered, and Kim. You know, Kansas is flatter than a pancake, so you can travel miles and miles and not perceive any curvature.
자, 캔자스는 동에서 서로 660km인데요. 660km면은 아까 전에도 말씀드렸지만 에베레스트 산이 3개 정도 들어가야 되는 곡률이 나와야 되는데 팬케이크보다도 더 평평하다라고 관측값이 나왔습니다. 그래서 하루 종일 달려도 저것을 이제 뭐 구글 맵이라든가 뭐 GPS 이런 장비를 동원해서 달려도 곡률이 없다. 아까 전에 그 대한민국의 수준 원점은 어디 있다 그랬죠? 인하대학교에 있다 그랬죠? 그 인하대학교에서 삼각측량법을 해갖고 부산까지 가도 결국엔 공률이 안 나온다. 토목공학과를 전공을 하셨거나 어떤 관측을 하는 분들은 알아요. 이 공률이 없다라는 것을. 다시 말해서 둥글 수 없다라는 거죠.
So, trains, as far as the train tracks go, surveyors, they do not compensate for curvature when laying the tracks. I would suggest that anyone who wanted to test for curvature, if you ride a train, take a spirit level on a train to see if the bubble moves.
마찬가지로 비행기에서 탔을 때도 이런 레벨기로 확인할 수 있듯이 마찬가지라 이거죠. 트레인도 기차도 마찬가지로 놓고 레벨기를 보면 어떤 그런 하강이 일어난다던가 그런 것이 없다. 물론 이제 떨림은 있을 수 있습니다. 그러나 이것이 어떤 움직임이 그 지구과학이라든가 나사에서 주장하는 커버처가 있어서 그거에 맞춰서 떨어지진 않는다. It's perspective, right?
Yes. And this is about perspective. At the same time, everything goes into the vanishing point as far as you look. But we've already covered, and I'll cover this because it's one of my favorite things to talk about how bodies of water do not curve. If anybody's listened to me at any point on my YouTube channel, they've heard me say this 100 times. Bodies of water, meaning lakes, rivers, oceans, streams, do not curve. Ponds even, swimming pools, bathtubs, everywhere you look, water is level. Water seeks and finds its level wherever you look. So there's no curvature on the water. As we recently discussed earlier, looking out the window, there's no curvature from a plane. So you can fly for hundreds of miles. Looking out the window, we just did it. I sat by a window on the flight here. There was no curvature.
또 무거워지는데.
As long as you feel the need to look for it. You're not gonna.
세상 그 어느 곳을 가고 얼마나 높이 올라가든 일단 공률은 발견되지 않는다라는 말을 했고요. 이 지구가 거대하니까 이라는 말은 이제 통하지가 않는다 이런 얘기를 하고 있습니다.
Everywhere you look, you'll see a level horizon. And there was a friend of mine who said, if you are a believer in the globe and you go out looking for curvature, you're going to come back a flat earther. Period.
네, 항상 그렇죠. 한번 이제 플랫어서가 되면 다시 글로브 모델로 갈 수 없다 이런 얘기를 하는데 알아버리는 거거든요. 진실이 뭔지.
So next, in this clip, there'll be yes, this is video from 121,000 feet, showing a flat horizon. So from an airplane at 35,000 feet, they say we're not high enough. Nathan, what's that? How many miles is that? About 22 miles? 20?
20 miles, yeah.
Yeah. The question is 20 miles high enough to see curvature? It's not.
근데 여기서 중요한 것은 카메라의 위치인데 카메라가 우리 눈이라고 생각했을 때 이렇게 떠 보이는 것은 아까 전에 말씀드린 대로 아래에 있는 거는 떠 보이기 때문에 저렇게 보이는 게 맞습니다. 그리고 저 위에 있는 건 얼마큼 떨어진지 그 가늠이 안 되지만 일단은 평평하다, 수평하다 이것은 부정할 수 없죠.
All right. I'll go ahead and go to the next one. The Earth is flat. That's why you can't see curvature anywhere. That's what it is. Now, everyone's favorite rebuttal. Have you heard of gravity?
Hey, you must drop the microphone.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Neil Tyson.
Oh yeah.
This guy.
Speaking of, let's go ahead and get into that. We have volume for this one.
Can I hear?
Let me see. Where's the volume on this thing?
Oh, sorry. I think just without talking.
Yeah, that's fine. Freestyle session.
저 사람이 닐 타이슨이라는 사람인데, he graduated in Harvard.
I'm not.
Somebody told me that.
Did he?
Yeah, maybe Harvard.
That's cute. No, this is Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's
Actor.
yeah, pretty much. You look up his IMDb, and it'll show that he's an actor. And what he does, he plays himself in multiple roles in so many movies. This would be short film about a man defying the idea of gravity, showing that everything that you perceive to be is gravity is actually the result of molecular density and buoyancy. But dropping a microphone does not prove that there is a force pulling everything towards the center of mass. It only proves that the microphone is heavier than the air that surrounds it.
마이크가 공기보다 가벼워요, 무거워요? 떨어지는 겁니다.
This says just if dropping a microphone proves gravity, then the simple act of jumping disproves it. Now he's going to go through a series of just minor, very small, minute gestures just to show that density and buoyancy are what causes things to rise and fall. Here he has a small magnet in his hand, and to the bottom of that, lots of paper clips on the other side of his hand. Where's gravity? Why is gravity not pulling the paper clips from his hand? It's very simple, but the truth always is it not?
저거는 왜 올라가죠? 공기보다 가벼우면 올라가요.
Balloons. When you see a balloon take off, the balloon has helium in it. Helium on a molecular level is less dense than oxygen. The balloon itself acts as a barrier between the helium on the inside and the oxygen on the outside of the balloon, causing the balloons to float.
헬륨 가스가 공기보다 가볍다.
This just proves that I was playing with slinkies all wrong growing up. You see that the slinky, it drops from the top and then it goes down, but it just shows that gravity wasn't the thing that was pulling it down.
그 중력이 있다 그러면 그 이렇게 떨어지는 게 같이 이렇게 떨어져야 되는데, 예, 그게 아니라는 거죠. This is what the density.
Yes, just showing buoyancy. In some objects will float, others will drop based on how dense they are.
물의 밀도는 1이고요. 이 물이 갖고 있는 그 밀도보다 무거우면 어떻게 되겠어요? 가라앉죠. 가벼우면 0.9면 어떻게 돼요? 저 나무는 0.9예요.
It's very simple, but
중력이 아니라고 하죠.
the idea of gravity is that it's pulling everything down. And I mean, people say that gravity is the force that keeps us all from flying off into space. They're grown-ups who still believe this, oddly enough. So yeah, get rid of the ball. So we're told in a quick Google search that most of the Earth's surface is covered in water. About 71% of the Earth is said to be covered in water. And what we're told is that gravity at the center is that once an object gains enough mass that it goes from one kilogram to another kilogram, and then suddenly gravity turns on and starts to pull everything towards the center. But you've never seen water act this way upside down. Does this make sense to you? And it's still flat. You know, but this is what you have to believe. The whole globe model, it teaches you to pretty much abandon what you already know inside yourself, and ultimately this is your reality.
그 여러분들 그 센스 감각을 믿으라는 말이 여러 데서 나오는 거고요. 그 지구의 71%를 저렇게 끌어당기는 그 중력이 어떻게 생각하세요? 그 나비나 벌이나 그러니까 오해하시는 것들이 인공지능이 있어서 너는 참 못생겼네. 안 끌어잡아 당길 거야. 이런다는 거예요. 근데 그렇지가 않죠. 재미없었나요? 가끔 한 번씩 웃길게요.
Alright, this is my favorite because it breaks down the simplicity of the whole model. In Flat Earth, we explain to you that you're as you experience walking upright on a flat surface. But yet, it seems crazy that you would be living your life as you experience it, but that there are people who are upside down at all these impossible angles, thousands of miles beneath their feet. Does that really make sense to you?
저기 홀든.
Yes.
지금 둥근 지구가 맞다고 생각하는 분 손 한번 들어보실래요? 좀 원. 또 있으신가요? 이 질문을 왜 했냐면
What was that?
I'm asking, do you still believe the earth is round? And he lies his hand. Yeah.
We got a few more hours. It's cool. we got time, buddy.
아직 좀 많이 남았습니다.
All right, I'll come back to this one. Okay, so because we know that bodies of water don't curve, we still have to consider the idea that heliocentric enthusiasts, as I call them, like to cite the globe as a proof that boats go over the curvature of the horizon. But that can be dispelled within seconds by pulling out a telescope, a pair of binoculars, or a camera with a good zoom. Because the boat goes outside of your field of vision, you can zoom back in and pull the whole boat back in completely. So the boat doesn't actually go over any curvature. And that proves it right there. The boat simply goes outside of where you can see. And we've been told since we were children that this is the result of there being curvature, but there is none on water. Water is level everywhere you look. So this is about perspective. The way that your eyes work, this is from Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas. The way that your eyes work is everything just goes into the vanishing point. The hallways, if this hallway here, if it's 8 feet high on both sides, if it's 6 feet wide here from where you're standing, down there at the end of the hallway, the dimensions are still the same, but because of the way your vision works, it makes the floor look like it's coming upward, makes the ceiling look like it's going down, it makes the hallways look like it's going inward. That's just the way your eyes work.
예, 모든 것은 소실점으로 수렴하게 돼 있습니다. 어떤 한정된 공간이 나오면 그것은 한 점으로 수렴한다. 그걸 우리는 베니싱 포인트라고 하고요. 그 너머를 볼 수 없죠. 우리 눈에 한계가 가졌기 때문에.
And this is Rameshwaram Temple in Tamil Nadu. This was built by Indian engineers over 1,740 years ago. The pillars are the same height, same dimensions, all the way down, but that's 1,212 pillars, and they all seem to shrink into one small dot right here because of the whole law of perspective.
자, 여러분 여기서 저 끝까지 가갖고 반대로 돌아서 보면 어떻게 될까요? 그렇죠. 지금 서 있는 장소가 저렇게 점으로 보여요. 그리고 우리는 지금 지구가 어떤 소실점을 넘어가는 것까지 그리기 때문에 좀 헷갈려하는 부분이 있는데 우리 눈이 갖고 있는 한계를 생각을 해야 됩니다. 아까 전에 보트를 이렇게 쭉쭉 중으로 당기니까 어떻게 됐죠? 사라졌다고 생각했던 보트가 나타났죠? 굴곡 너머로 사라진 게 아니다 이거죠.
Alright, so there's that. So people ask about the way that the sunsets work, and the sun pretty much acts the same way. The sun remains the same size. It works the same way as these lights here. The lights are in the hallway, they're at the same distance. The sun is still at the same distance in the sky, and the further away it gets, it seems to set below the horizon, but that's, again, just the way that perspective works. This is the hallway, this is the trail of the sun, and it plays by the exact same rules due to the law of perspective.
태양이 지는 걸까요? 예, 태양은 멀어지는 거예요. 멀어지면 어떻게 된다 그랬죠? 위에 있으니까 아래로 내려오죠. 아래에 있는 건 멀리 가면 뜨고. 이제 바로 그 얘기를 하고 있습니다.
So another thing that happens is we are told that, well, a sunset proves that the Earth is a globe, that the sun's going over curvature, but when in actuality, once again, if you zoom in, you can see that, well, I'll just show you.
이거 제 턴오필 TV에도 올렸었는데
And the sun comes back up.
멀어지기 때문에 다시 이렇게 올라온다.
Yes?
네, 그렇죠. 올라가지 않는 일자로 가는 거죠.
I'll Even show you again one more time, just for good measure. And the sun comes back up. It didn't go over the horizon. It didn't go over any curvature because there is none. Bodies of water do not curve.
줌을 땡긴다라는 것은 그 소실점 넘어서 볼 수 있는 그게 생기기 때문에 실질적으로 앞으로 가는 게 찍히는 거예요. 우리 눈이 갖고 있는 한계는 더 이상 못 보기 때문에 소실점으로 내려가는 거고, 기타 이제 기계를 이용을 하거나 뭐 망원경을 이용을 하거나 그런 식으로 보면 실질적으로 일자로 가고 있다.
So,
bear with me?
yeah. Over here. Talk through this one. So the way that perspective works, I like to look at it like if the Earth is a globe, okay, there will be curvature noticeably going away from you. See, this is what's called the x-axis, and this looking out away from you, that's the y-axis. So we've already covered the y-axis a few times, so this is where you believe that you see boats going over curvature. But if you believe that boats are going over curvature, the farthest that you can see from your eyes is about 3.5 miles. But let's look at what happens on the x-axis when I zoom the camera across a large body of water.
눈이 마주쳤네요.
And I went to go visit my daughter on a small island, and this is the Atlantic Ocean. Can you see any curve? Curvature? Anyone? Anyone? Flat?
360도를 돌려도 계속 수평만 나온 거예요.
Miles and miles of flat water is all I saw. I had to get a video of that. It was beautiful. Then I was showing her, and we're just talking about how it's flat. She knows what it is.
박수 한번 주세요.
It's important that the children know the truth of our world, and that's imperative at this point, because we're walking around not understanding fully where we are. So if we can work together and get the children to understand that we've been deceived about this, we wake the children up to this deception, this whole game's over. Because the children, they're going to be the ones who are in charge, leading the way for the future. So we're doing this, we're spreading this truth for future generations.
자, 우리의 미래가 이제 아이들이잖아요. 그러니까 아이들이 진실을 알게 되면 세상은 변할 것이다. 참 감동적인데, 무엇이 진실인지는 계속 탐구하는 것을 멈추면 안 되고, 여기서 우리가 평평지구가 100% 맞아라고 끝나면 안 됩니다. 더 많은 것을 발견하고 이것을 당당하게 나사든지 어디 거대 단체에 질문을 해야 돼요. 그런 것은 이제 컨퍼런스가 계속 플랫어스가 계속 진행되면서 그들의 답을 받을 수도 있겠다, 언젠가는. 근데 그 시간은 멀진 않은 것 같아요.
Alright, so more on gravity. One of those things that takes place out in space. We're all told that the sun's gravitational pull is strong enough to have all the planets orbit around it. And yet, the Earth has a strong enough gravitational pull to have the moon orbit around it. If the sun has a gravitational pull strong enough to have these other planets out here far millions of miles beyond the Earth in its gravitational pull, why would it not take our moon into its gravitational pull? How is the Earth's gravitational pull stronger than the sun's when the sun's gravitational pull is strong enough to pull the rest of these planets and keep them in orbit?
You're right. 태양계에 있는 아주 멀리 떨어진 그런 행성마저도 그 태양이 끌어당긴다고 하는데, 이 지구가 달을 끄는 게 더 강하겠어요? 태양이 더 달을 끄는 게 강할까요? 태양이 끄는 게 당연히 더 강하죠. 근데 어떻게 달은 계속 제 나사에서 주장하는 그런 heliocentric, right? 그런 게 유지가 되느냐, 이런 말을 하고 있습니다.
Yes, they call the sun Helios.
Helios.
There's a sun worshipping cult is what this is about. We understand that the Earth is geocentric is what the whole model is, but they're sun worshippers, so they made it to where everything revolves around the sun, when in actuality everything revolves around us, because the Earth is the center. Gravity. It's the imaginary force that holds all their lives together. That's all it's good for. We can disprove that gravity is a real thing, which it's not. It's still a theory, and it's still even called the theory of gravity, and yet it's taught as fact in the school system.
우리가 배우는 교육 시스템에 대해서 이제 다시 한번 나왔는데 참 일단 너무 맨데토리 주의식 교육이 강하다 이런 생각이 들죠.
We want to try this one?
What is it?
That was a quote by H.L. Mencken. It says, "The aim of public education is not to spread enlightenment at all. It is simply to reduce as many individuals as possible to the same safe level, to breed and to train a standardized citizenry, to put down dissent and originality." They don't want us to think, basically.
그 사람들이 좀 어떤 생각을 갖기를 원하지 않는 게 있습니다. 예.
All right, and Nikola Tesla, brilliant man, brilliant inventor. He wanted to give the world free energy, but due to the corruption of greedy men, he died penniless. And after he died, the government sent agents, and they pulled all his inventions and are typically, more than likely, still using them for nefarious means. But what he said was a quote about what's still going on today in the scientific community. He says that today scientists have substituted mathematics for experiments. And that's true. Experiments aren't really done. We're just given all these vast numbers that the sun is 93 million miles away, that the earth is spinning at 1,000 miles per hour, orbiting around the sun at 67,000 miles per hour, that the whole solar system is moving 45,000 miles per, whatever. It's just a lot of numbers that are unimaginable to the average human being, and we just substitute that for reality. And what he says is that they wander off through equation after equation and eventually build a structure which has no relation to reality.
아까 전에 저 태양이 아래로 내려가는 게 그 과학적인 수치, 숫자의 수치로 할 수 있을까요? 증명을 할 수 있을까요? 오히려 눈으로 보는 현상을 말하는 게 더 낫지 않을까요? 과학적으로, 그러니까 수치적으로 증명이 안 되는 게 더 많다.
So, when the average human being in today's society, because of the systematic dumbing down with the fluoride in the water to slow us down, and the proliferation of entertainment to keep us distracted, when the average human being sees complex equations written out, we'll just automatically shut our brains down and relegate that to someone who's smarter than us, to say, ultimately, someone figured that out. And we won't even think about it for ourselves anymore. And that's ultimately what they want us to do, is outsource our intelligence to people who have figured it out and just take their word for it that they're telling the truth.
누군가 다 사실을 밝혔으니까 그 사람을 믿으면 된다. 그 사람의 교육이 정확한 거다라고 그런 그 교육 시스템을 얘기하고 있는데 그것은 우리가 또 다른 각도로 볼 수도 있다.
So what we do in the flat earth community, or what I push, what I try to encourage people to do, is to trust their own common sense and reasoning to figure out the earth around them, how the world works, from your own five senses, because that's what you were born with. That's how you navigate through reality.
여러분들의 오감을 믿고 여러분들의 오감이 말하는 걸 한번 들어볼 필요도 있습니다.
So again, you have to ask yourself the question: Are you some sort of robot, or are you able to think for yourself?
그 지금 물론 이제 우리 교육이 계속 그렇게 왔기 때문에 평평지구에 대한 이제 아주 극도로 반응하는 게 있지만 우리는 질문을 할 수 있죠. 우리 모두 질문을 할 수 있잖아요. 우리 로봇가 아니다. 우리 질문을 할 수 있고 자유로운 생각을 할 수 있다. 이 얘기를 하고 있습니다.
And then back to my favorite slide. Okay, but I'll move beyond that one. I love this slide. But anyway, but yeah, once we get away from using our own senses to figure out where we are, then we'll start to believe things like people are living upside down on a spinning ball flying through infinite space, when what we experience on a regular basis is being on a flat, motionless plane.
뭐 시속 1600km/h로 돌고 잦은 공전 또 이렇게 밀키웨이라고 해서 엄청나게 빠른 속도로 마하를 넘나드는 속도로 지구가 한쪽 방향으로 움직이면서 잦은 공전 뭐 5가지 모션이 있는데 그것은 정상이고 지금 우리가 아무런 어떤 느낄 수 없는 뭐 지구의 공전이나 자전이나 이런 게 없는데 그것을 이제 미쳤다고 표현한다면 이것은 좀 잘못된 것 같다.
Alright, so let's dig a little deeper. Let me see now. Does this look real to you?
이게 진짜로 진짜인 것 같나요? 진짜 지구고 진짜 달인 것 같나요?
The clouds aren't moving. You notice that?
제가 아까 전에 말씀드렸는데 기체가 만약에 그 1600km로 돈다 그러면 저렇게 형태를 유지해 갖고 같이 돌 수는 없죠.
Well, this is supposed to be hours and hours of movement, and I mean you can go outside and sit in the grass and you can look up at the sky, and if you see clouds, you're going to see them move, and they're not going to stay in the same patterns the way that this is. This is obviously computer generated. We've never seen the moon from that angle, and they tell us that the moon is supposed to be 238,000 miles away from the Earth. Does that really look like it's that distance to you? Is the question.
나사에서 주장하는 그 달하고 떨어진 거리는 그게 아니다라고 말을 하고 있고 참 그 구름이 저렇게 가만히 있는다라는 거 한번 생각을 해보십시오.
So the Earth is spinning, is what they tell us. And if the Earth is spinning, back to the whole aspect of the airplane, I travel in the United States from the West Coast to the East Coast often. So if the Earth is spinning eastward, let's say at over 1,000 miles per hour, heading east, that means that the ground will be outpacing any commercial airplane because the max speed of a commercial airplane, like the A321, is 545 miles per hour. This means that the ground will be rotating beneath the airplane faster than the airplane can fly. So traveling from west coast to the east coast will be impossible on the globe. Yes.
지금 마무리하는 얘기는 아까 전에 반시계 방향으로 지구가 도는 거 보셨죠? 이쪽으로 1600km/h로 돈다고 합니다. 자전을 하는데 비행기 순항 속도가 얼마예요? 한 800 정도 나오거든요. 그 민간 항공기. 그럼 만약에 비행기가 이쪽에서 이렇게 가고 반대로 이쪽에서 이렇게 오면 어떻게 될까요? 이쪽으로 가는 거는 따라갈 수가 없어요. 1600km/h이기 때문에. 가만히 있어도 그냥 되는 거예요. 그 노스코리아 북한에서 미사일을 쐈다며요. 근데 가만히 여기 좀 오래만 떠 있으면 타격을 할 수 있는 거죠. 근데 이런 거 그렇잖아요. 1600km로 돈다 그러면 1600km가 얼마나 빠른 속도냐면 이거를 상상을 초월해요. 여러분들이 총을 딱 쏘면 1초에 몇 미터 나가는지 아세요? 이게 총알보다 더 빠르다는 거예요. 지구 도는 게. 그 여러분들이 붙어 있을 수 있어요, 없어요? 이거가? 없죠. 이건 아니죠. I want to be like. 이게 1600km라는 거 한번 생각을 해보세요. 만약에 뭐 RPM을 돌려갖고 엄청나게 1600km 속도 높이 딱 오면 불꽃을 일으키고 튕겨나갑니다. 사람이 만약에 있다 그러면 다 사방 다 날아다녀야 돼요. 있을 수 없는 얘기예요. 있을 수 없는 얘기. 근데 이거를 어떻게 믿는지는 모르겠어요. 저는. 제가 잘못된 건가요? 1600km면 총알의 두 배 속도인데 우리가 뭐 포고치기만 하잖아요. 가만히. 좀 아니다. Is it right? I explain? You don't understand Korean, so. Right. Sound good. 그런데 듣기는 좋았대요. 된 거 아닙니까? 박수 한번 주세요.
All right. So we're given fake images from the space agencies. I mean, I used to be really into space. I used to love watching those documentaries, but after spending hours and hours watching that stuff, I went back and did it after I got into flat Earth and realized that this is all fake. This is all animated. It's all cartoons. It's all CGI. None of it's real.
지금 디스커버리 채널 보시면은 우주에 대해서 막 엄청나게 나오죠. 와, 뭐 진짜 행성 같은 게 목성, 토성 막 그거 나오잖아요. 예, 거기 가갖고 막 우주인들이 막 라면도 끓여 먹고 그거 다 거짓말이에요.
So this is just a short video of a star that I zoomed in on with my own camera. This is the CGI version of Antares, one of the stars, and this is the actual video from my P900.
저기 실제로 관측되는 별.
As Clark stated, when you zoom in on the stars and you actually see the motion in real time, it gives the appearance of a light, and there seems to be water in between us and the lights. And you see how it's blinking from red, yellow, green, orange, constantly.
좀 전에 제가 뭐 있는 줄 아세요? 검색을 했거든요. 그냥 안타레스래요. 별이. 예. 저도 이제 가끔 모르는 게 나와서. 관측되는 게 모든 게 저렇게 바짝바짝 빛나는 뭐 돌덩어리가 아닌 빛이라고 생각하시면 됩니다.
I zoomed in on that after a flat Earth meetup in Portland.
Yeah. So have more. I mean, still have a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep going?
Yeah. Keep going. All right. Yeah.
Okay, so the way that a lunar eclipse works, we'll just talk about that. The lunar eclipse that took place on January 31st in the U.S., that pretty much dispelled the globe model, because the way that a lunar eclipse is said to work is that the moon is eclipsed from the shadow of the earth, because the earth is directly between the sun and the moon. But a friend of mine posted a video, and what happens here, did you get the picture? Okay, do the easy. Get the picture? Okay. All right, so what happened, a friend of mine posted a video of the moon while it was totally eclipsed, and what happens at the peak of the lunar eclipse, the moon goes blood red. So what he did, he zoomed in his camera on the moon while the moon was fully eclipsed by the Earth's shadow, is what we're told. Then pull the camera back, panned around to the other side, and showed on the sky where the sun was coming up on the horizon.
태양의 위치를 보세요.
Well, that pretty much proves that the Earth wasn't directly between the sun and the moon, doesn't it?
어떤 게 더 센스가 아까 어떤 게 더 맞을까요? 여러분들 생각할 때 평평한 데서 도는 게 맞을까요? 아니면 서클에서 저게 맞을까?
All right. So that just happened a couple of months ago. But there are so many holes in the globe model that, I mean, anybody who wants to open their mind just a little bit and will just relax their stance and just say, okay, just take a very neutral approach to how they look at the world, will probably end up becoming a flat earther. But we're all flat earthers, it's just that most of us don't know it yet. So this is another cartoon depiction of the solar system and how everything's set up. You see all these ellipses where the planets and the Earth and all that orbit around the sun, and this is what we're told is how this whole thing works. We're told that the Earth and all the other planets are orbiting around the sun while the sun's flying through the infinite vacuum of space. In all these multiple directions, the sun's going this way, the Earth is spinning around that way, the moon's spinning around the Earth, the whole galaxy's going this way, and yet, we'll see in just a second, one thing that's another dead giveaway as far as the globe model goes. It's the North Star.
아니 태양입니다. 태양 볼텍스 운동이라고 치시면 나옵니다. 예. 알고 있습니다. 여러분들 태양인 거 아셨나요? 네. 박수 한번 주세요. he asking that how they people know is the sun. I say yellow is sun.
Right.
That's it. So yes, the fact that the North Star stays in one position and that all the other stars make a perfect circle around the North Star this way, that proves that the sun isn't dragging all the planets through the infinite vacuum of space because the North Star has been fixed in one place for all of recorded history.
단 한 번도 저 점이 변한 적이 없잖아요. 근데 아까처럼 뭐 자전공정 5가지 운동, 볼텍스 운동을 하면서 마하 뭐 수십 되는 그런 속도로 움직일 수 있는가라고 봤을 땐 안정적이고 그러한 모션이 없다라는 게 나온다 이거죠. 근데 상식을 갖고 한번 생각을 해보면 우리가 무조건 이제 뭐 교육을 받았다고 해서 그거에 맹신하기보다 좀 알아보자 뭐 이런 얘기죠.
Go off script a little bit. Pull it to the side. Show one thing. Yeah. All right. So the way that the sun and moon work on the flat Earth. Wait, it's not. What happened? It's not showing up.
cannot show.
What happened?
It's very important.
Right.
이거 좀 컴퓨터 좀 다루시는 분 잠깐 나오시고요. something wrong.
Okay. Well, I guess not.
Maybe we leave. This I delete it.
That's fine.
I think we should this one. 저기 잠깐만 이거 좀 봐주세요. 이거 좀 중요한 영상이 있어서 이거 여러분들한테 보여드려야 되겠다는 생각이 들고요 해서 이거 좀 한번 봐주세요. 요 지금 해가 뜨고 그러니까 해가 이렇게 뜨거지는 것처럼 보이는 현상이 저 뒤에 있는 게 저 약간 뭐 변원이 변한 거예요? 예, 껐다 가죠. 저기 좀 의도치 않게 문제가 좀 생겼습니다. 예. 지금 나오네요.
I need to keep you. So the way that we believe that the sun and the moon work on the flat Earth is that they make a clockwise circuit. Now, if you happen to be, this was filmed in Alaska during the period in the summertime where there's 24-hour sunlight. The sun does not seem to go down because it spirals in this clockwise circuit that much closer to the center, which is the North Pole. So in the northern hemisphere, that's why we have summer, and then during the summer months in the northern hemisphere, it's winter in the southern hemisphere because the sun is spiraling towards the inside, and on the winter months in the northern hemisphere, it's summertime in the southern hemisphere because it's below the Tropic of Capricorn where the sun is making its circuit on the outside.
Yeah. So we're the next one.
I'll stay on the script this time. Yes.
아까 전에 보신 그 영상 중에 이해 안 가시는 게 있나요? 그 북구 근처에서 그 센터를 잘 잡아갖고 찍었는데 넓게 돌면 나한테 멀어지면 어떻게 된다 그랬죠? 떨어지는 것처럼 보인다 그랬죠? 다시 다가오면 뜨는 것처럼 보인다 그랬죠? 이게 반복이 되면서 24시간 해가 지지 않는 거예요. 북극에서. 남극에서는 그런 게 관측이 안 돼요. 그 관측이 된다고 내놓은 자료를 보면 이제 거짓말이었죠.
Okay. So, a lot of people like to ask the question, what does it matter whether or not the Earth is flat? Well, it matters a lot because if the Earth is flat, that will mean that the governments of the world have conspired to keep us in the dark concerning where we live. And that would be pretty evil, in my opinion. So, we don't know where we are. If the Earth is flat, we don't know where we are.
우리가 어디 서 있는지 어떻게 하냐 이거죠. 우리가 어디에 있는지. 지금 그 거짓의 세계에서 살면은 정말 아까 전에 보신 미친 듯이 돌고 막 좌절하고 이런 데서 살잖아요. 매트릭스의 세계에 갇히게 된다 이거죠.
So basically, we would spend our entire existence, our entire lives, not really knowing where we are, and that's the result of the heliocentric model being pushed on all of us. Another reason why it does matter, why they may be lying, that whoever's in charge may be hiding more land. This is a popular map. It shows the regular flat Earth. The sun and the moon shows a summer's gate, as it were, and then in the outer, more lands on the outside. Clark went over this earlier. This Buddhist map that was hidden, showing other continents on the outside of what we know.
예, 섹션 1에서도 다 말씀드렸지만 남극 너머에 또 다른 대륙이 있다라고 했는데 이것을 관측해서 방송에 내보내는 그 콤백스라고 과학자들이 7년 동안 한 자료를 내기로 했습니다. So, finish or
A couple more, just a few more.
No, keep going.
Okay. So,
제가 말씀드린 콤백스.
yes, there's a documentary coming out it's called convexearth.org. They have a YouTube channel, and they'll be releasing a documentary on March 26th. And their model, after doing seven years of research, experimentation on their own, they have come to a model that shows what seems to be an ice wall and another continent on the outside. But we have to wait another 9 days for that to come out, and I can't wait, personally.
여러분들 한 9일 정도 있으면은 저게 나오는데 기다릴 수 있죠? 네. 9일 뒤에 많은 학자들이 7년 동안 진짜 피땀 흘려갖고 영상을 만들었습니다. 계속 관측을 해갖고. 그래서 또 다른 대륙을 발견한 게 나옵니다.
So they can't be hiding more land.
더 이상 이제 거짓말은 통하지가 않죠.
Another reason why they could be lying to us or keeping us in the dark is this illusion of scarcity, that we end up becoming somewhat slaves to debt. We end up in this constant routine where we're going to make money for these corporations to pay for a lifestyle, and that we just continue to live our lives as consumers inside this whole currency system.
현재 존재하는 그 화폐, 그 커런시 시스템으로는 이제 노예로 빚을 지게 만드는 그런 경제 시스템을 구축해 놨고, 여러분들이 어떤 그 진실을 발견하는 거에 대해서는 상당히 좀 부정적으로, 그러나 좀 어떻게 아까 전에 뭐 제가 수벽도 말씀드렸지만 좀 갇힌 곳에서 좀 깨어나는 것을 방해하는 그런 게 있다.
So we just continue to consume, and we live our lives in this way. So, and this is pretty much the situation. There's a small group of people who have seized control of most of the wealth on Earth, while that leaves the rest of the world's population kind of scraping to get by. It's an illusion of scarcity, but in actuality, the world is abundant. There's plenty of land. There's plenty of fresh water. There's plenty of resources for everyone, and yet we're told that we live on this ball, and that there's nowhere else to go, and that most of the land has already been explored, and that there's really no point in trying to do more than what you are doing. We're bred in the educational system to be in this cookie cutter society, to pretty much be slaves to debt for all of our lives and work until we die.
사람들한테 지금껏 지구는 한정된 공간이고 자원은 점점점 고갈되고 살 곳은 없고 경제도 망가지고 공해가 일어나고 사람들이 없어져야 된다고 지금 프로파간다 선동을 해놨는데 또 다른 대륙이 있다 라고 하면 얘네들의 계획이 차질이 생길 수도 있다 이거죠.
So what happens is that we all go through this process when we come to flat Earth. It's what I've noticed happens to a lot of people. Once we come into it, we're excited or something else. There are other emotions. We may become frustrated. But once we embrace the idea that we've been deceived and that we've come into this truth, the first thing that we want to do is go tell the people that we know.
뭐 처음에 이제 되게 흥분을 하죠. 평평한 지구에 대해서 알게 되거나 어떤 진실을 알았을 때 내가 기존에 알고 있었던 것과는 다르다 해서 사람들한테 진실을 얘기하고, 근데 주변에서는 비웃죠. 멍청이 바보, 예, 그런 식으로 그래 놓고 이제 뭐 이렇게 따로 떨어지는 극단적으로 이렇게 혼자 되는 그런 것까지 경험할 수 있는데 예, 두려워하시면 안 돼요. 진실을 말함에 있어서 두려워하면 결국에는 지는 게임을 하게 되는 겁니다.
So after we spread the word about flat earth and anything else that we figure out, typically this idea of flat earth, this will get you more ridicule than any other thing. I've been called so many names under the book, it doesn't even affect me anymore. I've been called those sorts of idiots, dummies, retards, morons. There was an article. The title of the article was A Perfect Combination Between Brilliant and Stupid. And that was written in an article on the internet still, and they put my face next to this.
심지어는 이제 그 디맙을 얼굴을 도용을 해갖고 상당히 좀 몹쓸 사람, 멍청한 사람, 바보 같은 사람 뭐 이런 식으로 좀 인신공격을 하는 그런 것도 많았는데 그래도 진실을 계속 알리겠다, 뭐 멈추지 않겠다 이런 의도가 있습니다.
But after the ridicule, once you figure this out, you end up alone for the most part. Like nobody wants to talk to you about these things. Well, you want to talk to someone and you don't have anyone to talk to. So one thing that I do and I like to promote is flat earth meetups. And Nathan will get into these a lot because he's done a lot of meetups in the last couple years. So I'll set these up and I'll meet up with people and we'll just get together and talk, because it's good to get with people who understand the same things that you do, because we receive so much negative feedback on a regular basis from people who don't quite get it. And that, you know, it's important to have some positivity, some positive feedback when you're but yes, this was one of my meetups out in Seattle. There was Mark Sargent, he's one of the flat earthers there. This is the first one that I hosted. The groups get bigger over time.
네, 점점 이제 깨어나는 사람이 많이 늘어나고 있다는 증거고요. 처음에 한 명이 진실을 발견해서 그 다음 사람한테 이렇게 계속 전달하는 이 움직임은 멈추지 않을 것입니다.
And this is where I'll wrap it up. This is where I'll conclude it. It's necessary to get around like-minded people who, you know, when you walk in a room and you see smiling faces, as we have here, it's good to be around good people. You are good people. And I've met a lot of flat earthers, and they're the nicest, most wholesome, most genuine, honest, open-hearted people that you can think of or that you can run into. Always caring, always compassionate, very generous. These are great people. We are. And that's been my experience, at least, because I've done so many meetups, and that's why I'm so passionate about linking others up with, you know, like-minded people. It's necessary to get some positive feedback. So this is a good time for us. The truth is being revealed day by day. More people are coming awake to this knowledge and seeking to make a change in the world. And this is our time. We're doing this for future generations, as I said, and I'm just glad to be counted among good people like yourself, Kim Cook.
Yeah, thank you.
And that's my contact information. If anybody wants to take a picture of that, you can get in contact with me at my website, dmarble.info, or that's my email here, contact@dmarble.info. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I respond when I can, but I'm a one-man show at this point. So, as always, be good to each other, take care of yourself, stay flat.
네, 디맙이었습니다. 어때 차